Bradford here with another WoW TCG deck tech. This is the classic format still, and again, that's basically Magic's Legacy or Hearthstone's Wild. Today we're going over WinterTwin Combo Mage. This is Red or Horde. Some people call this Crabby Wondervolt. WinterTwin is something I just came up with, super simple, but this would help Magic players transition if they're curious what this deck does. It's a lot like Splinter Twin. Let's start with the hero first. Velindra Sepulchre. She is an undead mage. Her hero power is pay 1, flip her. This turn, target ally can't attack or protect, loses, can't have powers, and is also a sheep. So you basically turn one guy into a sheep, and it silences him, and he can't interact. This is great because there's certain allies that shut down ongoing abilities, and your whole deck is reliant on ongoing abilities. Okay, let's take a look at the first part of the combo. This is Crabbyfin. When this or another Murloc ally enters play under your control, you may put a 1/1 crab into play. So whenever this creature comes into play, he will poop out a 1/1 crab token. And then anytime another Murloc comes into play, it will also poop out a 1/1 crab token. So the other part of the combo is Wondervolt. You choose an ally type, and for our deck we're going to be choosing Murloc. All allies also have that ally type. So what will happen is, we'll play Wondervolt first, and then play Crabbyfin afterwards. Crabbyfin comes into play, and then the crab that he makes, the crab is also a Murloc. And so when that crab Murloc enters play, it triggers another crab Murloc to enter play, and you get infinite tokens that way. You do have to choose a number, so you usually just tell your opponent, like, yeah, I'm making 100 of these, or something like that. So that's pretty simple. That's the combo. What's the rest of the deck? We have two more pieces that can work with part of the combo. Presence of Mind. It's an instant 0 cost. Cards in your hand are instant this turn until you play a card. So in other words, your next card is instant. What this is for is like a turn 3 where you, end of turn 3 on your opponent's turn, cast Wondervolt, untap, and on your turn you cast Crabbyfin. That way you can do this with just 3 mana total. And essentially doing it at the end of the third turn. So your opponent dies on turn 4 if they don't have an answer. Here's another card that speeds up the combo. Roll, something like that. Or I guess we give it a fair try, right? Like roll. Okay. Murloc allies you control get +1 attack and ferocity. So this just makes the combo instant this turn. Otherwise, you do have to wait a turn. You just get a bunch of tokens, but they can't kill immediately. This is another card that increases the consistency of just killing your opponent that turn. There are a lot of ways to kill a whole board of 1/1 tokens. So this is a way to get around that. So this is the combo. This line here is our survivability. This is interacting with our opponent, and this is card draw to find our combo. We've got 4 of each of these. Disappear. Your hero is elusive this turn. It's instant. So when you cast this, this is basically a fog from Magic where you just cannot be attacked this turn. Here's a similar one, Invisibility. Your hero is elusive and untargetable this turn. Also, opposing heroes and allies lose and can't have elusive or untargetable, but that doesn't really matter. You're not killing any of your opponent's stuff. So it's just the top half here. Your hero goes elusive again, just like Disappear. You're also untargetable, which is good. If your opponent tries to hit you with a discard spell, you can do Invisibility in response. Then your hero gains untargetable, and so they can't even use a discard spell against you. Our other form of interaction here for surviving is just Cold Front. Allies can't attack this turn. This is kind of like Fog again, except that this does not prevent the opposing hero from attacking. So that's one way we can get around that. On the interaction side, we've got a suite of counter spells. There's 8 of these cheap ones and 3 of this 3-cost one. Taste of Arcana, if you play Magic, this is just Daze. It's just pay 1, deal 1 to their hero, and then they have to pay 1 more, otherwise you interrupt their card. So this is good, basically, you use this when your opponent has no resources open, and it'll counter pretty much any card they play. You can even get Master Heroes with this. But the main point is that it's cheap and can counter anything. Fizzle, instant interrupt target ability with cost 3 or less. A lot of the ways your opponent's going to be interacting is going to be trying to play abilities to either counterspell your stuff, kill your stuff in response, make you discard, interrupt your combo somehow. This is a really cheap interaction that lets you combo out on turn 4 or 5 with maybe double protection. Nether Fracture, just a pay 3, interrupt target ability, ally, or equipment. So this interrupts basically every playable card except Master Heroes. Ritual Power, this is kind of like our hero power. Pay 1, target opposing card, loses and can't have powers. So you pay 1 to silence a card for a turn, works on either player's turn. And this card is actually very effective against the card we have in our sideboard, Vuz'din. Opposing ongoing abilities lose and can't have powers. This would shut off Winter Wondervolt, so now we have our hero power plus a way to prevent it with this quest. This thing will also stop cards like Hurricane that just prevent creatures from attacking. Really, any way that your opponent has a permanent in play, this is a cheap 1 mana way to interact and beat it. Let's look at our card draw. Question of Gluttony. A lot of us know this quest. You pay 1 less to complete this card for every quest in your hand. It costs 7, draw a card. So if you play this on, let's say you're on the draw, turn 2, you draw, place a quest, then you'll still have 7 cards in hand. You could complete this for free and draw a card, and then play a 1-drop or something. Or you could just complete it at the end of your opponent's turn, draw another card. It's basically just free card draw. Our deck doesn't plan to spend our cards. We're never going to be dumping things onto the field effectively. We just basically sit and draw until we get our combo and just survive and stall until then. 1 Draenei's Junk. This card finds everything in the deck, basically. Pay 2, reveal the top 3, put a card at cost of 1, 2, or 3 into your hand and the rest in the bottom. So you pay 2 and you get to draw 1 from the top 3 because it hits every non-quest in the deck. Mystery Goo. Just pay 3, reveal the top 5 cards, put a revealed ability into your hand, the rest in the bottom. There's only 1 of this. It's kind of expensive for our deck. Our whole combo only costs like 3 mana on 1 turn, 2 on another turn. So this is expensive, but sometimes you just need to find a piece, and this digs 5 deep, so there's only 1 in the deck. Here's actual card draw. Mana Agate. Pay 2, then it sits in play. Then you can pay 1, sack it to draw 2 cards. This is not as good as some of the other Mage card draw, but it's cheap, and that's the point. And Bottled Knowledge. This is equipment, cost 3. When it comes into play, you draw 2, then discard 1. Then you can exhaust a mage, including your hero, to sacrifice the bottle, draw 2, and then discard 1. So this card lets you see a total of 4 other cards, digs 4 cards deep. It ends up drawing you 2 cards, so it's mana advantage. It digs pretty far for 4 mana. You can even save it, like if you already have 7 cards in hand, you don't want to go above your limit. You can just crack this at the end of your opponent's turn. So it comes into play, then at the end of your opponent's turn, you tap your hero and sacrifice this thing. Dig a little bit deeper. You might even be able to find enough mana to Presence of Mind, Wondervolt at the end of that same turn. Let's move on to the sideboard. Spell Suppression, just pay 1, attach it to something and it silences it. It doesn't get rid of it. Like if it's a sword or something, or a weapon, your opponent can still continue to swing with it. But this deck doesn't really care about traditional damage. You're just going to kill everyone way faster than they can kill you. So this is another way to outplay permanents if you miss the interrupt on it. You've got Spell Suppression and your hero power for allies, Spell Suppression and ritual power for every other permanent in the game. Vuz'din. Opposing ongoing abilities lose and can't have powers. We went over this guy, but yeah, this just sits in play. And if your opponent's got hurricanes or other ways to deal with it, or if they're just a dot deck, like if they're a Boomkin or Affliction Warlock, a dot Priest, something like that. There's a lot of decks that have ongoing abilities as the center theme, so here's a cheap way to interact with that. 1 more Nether Fracture. If we decide we want to slow things down and become kind of a controlling combo deck, we'll just slot in one of these, slot in some slows. You pay 3, attach to target hero. They can only play 1 card per turn. This means that they have a lot of trouble interacting if we just start our combo and then they shoot, let's say we have our Wondervolt in play and then we cast our Crabbyfin. When this Murloc comes into play, the Crab token, which is also a Murloc, as that's attempting to enter play, if your opponent kills Crabbyfin in response, they'll interrupt the chain. Because then all you get is a random Crab and Murloc token with no other triggers off of it. So that's how they interrupt the chain. But if they have slow on them, you can cast your combo. They cast their 1 piece of removal or whatever, or their interrupt. You just interrupt their interrupt. You'll have 12 at that point. And they have no chance to respond to it because they can only play 1 card per turn. This kind of locks people out of the game. You can also just play a slow game and do a lot of stalling for a while, then slow your opponent, and then counter the next 2 or 3 plays they play in a row, and then just draw enough to combo out, and they just have no cards left in hand, no presence. You might even be able to double up on the amount of cards you can double up on combo pieces. That's pretty much it for this deck. It's very powerful, but it's simple. A lot of people think it's maybe a little too broken for the game. I kind of agree. Splinterton got banned in Magic for a reason. I mean, it's available in other formats, but a lot of people don't dying instantly on turn 4. I don't know, it can be a problem. A lot of decks have to interact with it in a certain way. It's really the only combo deck, the traditional combo deck left in this game So I don't mind it being around, but it does get annoying to play against after a while. But hey, if this is your style, here's the deck. Enjoy.